Welcome. These will be my thoughts on The Walking Dead Season 6, Episode 10, The Next World. The episode is rated TVMA, so with this video there will be spoilers for the episode and everything live action Walking Dead up to it as well, and another episode I absolutely fucking loved. So, I will start with briefly giving a video recommendation. I quite appreciated the Some More News stream. Let's not hand it to Tucker Carlson and more. And I think you might as well. And let's see if we can keep this more or less chronological this time. So, I think I will start by just saying I kind of love the concept here because I can practically hear the writer's room with someone just pitching, how about just kind of a day, like a day in the life, just like, because like at the end of at the end of the day, ultimately, this is just, yeah, they go out for supplies. I mean, this happens every so often. We don't always see it, and sometimes there's other stuff going on. Here, it is basically just, it's that, and then it's the stuff in the woods, and it just fucking works because these are such compelling characters. You don't really need, more. I have to admit, I was on the edge of my seat the whole time thinking, is Negan and his men gonna show up now? Because, they definitely have me on edge from the introduction to his men before they went splody. And I guess that, yeah, so can we just take a minute to appreciate how goddamn adorable Denise is? So the whole thing with like, okay, so here's the stuff on the list, and this is, okay, so that thing, okay, so that, so, they talk about whether or not it's important, and she goes over the whole thing, and then she's like, and he's like, so, what, you want to drink? And she's like, oh, I don't go for pop. Pop? Oh, I'm from Ohio, that's what we call it. It's just, I I love beyond words could allow me to express the part where she does this kind of like awkward hand gesture to basically, because she's, it's just this thing. She wants to do something nice for Tara, and Daryl kind of mimics it a little bit. Oh my god. And yeah, like, he gets it. He's just, yeah. And yeah, this thing of like, oh, but, the name of this soft drink, which I, of course, already forgot, Tara's been mumbling it in her sleep, and maybe she likes it, maybe she doesn't, but if she does, it would be a nice surprise before she goes on the 2 week, just, wow. And I really appreciate, he gets it, because then at the end of the episode, he says, that other thing didn't work out. He doesn't say, I'm sorry, I know you wanted to surprise Tara, but I couldn't find, I wasn't able to get you that soda, And let's see, then we have the, yeah, once again, just wonderful, wonderful stuff. You know what? I'm gonna real quick scroll down so I have the names in front of me because I am struggling a little to keep them all in my memory. There we go. Yeah. So Eugene, talking about the soil, which is just like, yeah. And I think what he says is accurate. I have to admit that's not, as you can probably tell, I obsess over other things, but not soil. One thing I do know about soil, in order to make sure that it's the right time to, spread the seed, is you got to check if the soil is moist. And yeah, I love the part where, Daryl's just sitting there like kind of blank face, just like, okay. And then Eugene launches into like a fucking, pitch for it. I just want there to be an outtake where at the end of it he goes like, well, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. And I think that does. So yeah, they're on the road, and the thing with the CD, god damn it, that was, yeah. So he's like, don't do it, don't fucking do it. it lures them away. Yes, I'm sure that's the only reason. It's not that you like the song or you like that he doesn't, that Daryl can't stand it. I mean, I think we've all been on at least one road trip where, someone wanted to play truly, yeah, something we really didn't want to listen to. Let's go with that. Oh shit, sorry. Before they leave, don't they talk to, yeah, sorry. Obviously, there you go, already out of order. You're out of order. This whole court is out of order. But yeah, so we have the thing with them waking up. I will say, as soon as I did find myself wondering if this means that they were already dating, but I guess by the end of the episode, it seems like they start dating at the end of this, or I guess, I don't know if they will, if it becomes, more, or if it is just, one-off kind of thing. Anyway, but yeah, and Michonne talking, well, toothpaste is like, well, it's been borrowed, and I loved the father, the parent-child thing. Yeah, Carl yells it from the room, and then Rick is like, I can't hear you. You're gonna have to come out here. And then as soon as he comes out, Rick says it just as Carl is saying it, just to say, listen, I just if you're gonna say something and you want me to hear it, come into the same room as me. Which like that is such a yeah, parent dealing with a teenager. That's a thing. And I think that does bring us to the yeah, I liked how several characters said, just if it's no trouble, about the thing that was supposed to be gotten. And I guess that is around the place where, so Michonne goes up to, she's there to watch, and she spots Spencer and follows, and I think the next thing we see is the I think it might actually be Maggie with Enid, which was also a great, just yeah, she wants to help Enid, and Enid is still, she can sometimes be kind of closed off. And she does end up going with Carl into the woods, and yeah, just so many great little moments there. You have the thing about like, well, it's too wet to read, but it means something. It means there's people out here. We knew there were people out here. People died. You know what, Carl? You can be a real buzzkill sometimes. But yeah, seriously though, it is showing their kind of where they are right now, and the let's see, think I think I will just talk a little bit more about, so yeah, he's sitting there reading Invincible. I wonder if he's fan casting Glenn, and I do not know what that character is called, but I do know that that's the same actor. Stephen Yeun is both Glenn on this show and a character on Invincible. I'm not ruling out at some point doing it, but do not hold your breath. I hear there's a bunch of seasons coming up, and I'm not sure I'm going to start on it before it's done. I really don't need more fucking subscription services to streaming, I'm not averse to the idea of watching more streaming services, but it's gonna have to be the free ones. I'm looking at some of the free ones for additional. Anyway, that's a digression. And yeah, the thing with, Michonne kills a walker for Spencer, and he doesn't want to say why he's out there, and she keeps following, and you have this thing of like, she's like, your mom told me I had to figure out what I want for the rest of my entire life, and I'm trying, And yeah, so the whole thing with, okay, so they do indeed find, I think it was called Durgam. Bergam. It's because the Danish word started with a D. I kind of hope that the subtitler just already knew that instead of having to go to like a dictionary or something to find out. But yeah, and they find the, all this stuff, and just, oh my God. And then you have the thing about, and I really appreciate Daryl doesn't tell, because it's like, well, it's not for him to tell Rick. He can just say, listen, it's important. I mean, he does say later, it's for the doctor. The doctor requested this, but he doesn't tell him immediately, and he doesn't say why the doctor requested it. And then we have the, let's see, the other thing there was that we have, it's right on the tip of my tongue, I swear. They managed to flip over the thing, the fridge with a door. Fridge without a door, sorry. Was that what Thor called it? And, yeah. I mean, they weren't expecting when they left that morning. They were talking about, this is the day. Didn't know it was going to be a religious experience. They found Jesus. And I am so pedantic sometimes that when Daryl said, we can't trust him, he calls himself Jesus. Technically, he said other people do. Anyway. But yeah, genuinely really clever. He managed to because he bumped into them, and it's like, well, yeah, I mean, I guess if he's running away from walkers, and he's like, well, in 11 minutes they'll be here. It's like, I mean, okay, it's not like they're just going to stand around for that long to wait and find out, but it's also like, I mean, if he said, oh, they're right on my heels, two guys with guns drawn on him, one of them's going to go check and be like, I'm not seeing any walkers over here, so, and just the and the trying to figure out if they should take him back or not, and yeah, like genuinely it is, I don't know, I kind of hope he at least sticks around, whether he turns out to be, antagonist, or if he joins the survivors or what, but I'm already really, really liking him. And I think that does. Yeah, so they realize, and they hear something, and it sounds like gunfire, and it's like, well, and yeah, I practically jumped out of my seat. Oh shit, Negan found them. But yeah, it's firecrackers, and Jesus is leaving. And yeah, genuinely clever, this thing of like, well, they start running after him immediately, and at some point he has to change a tire, and that slows him down, obviously. Like, you can't just do that instantly. I don't know exactly, but I think it takes like, you know what? I'm just going to leave that for the gearheads to determine. I'm just saying you can't do it. It's not like snap of a finger. And they manage, they make sure to sneak up from, out, from between the trees, rather than just run up behind him, because he realized, and he fucking like pulls this martial arts, like, Jesus, and manages to, both of them, he's able to just, does really, really cool and funny. Like, we didn't expect, I did not expect that at all. And after a little bit more driving, there's like, what's that other? I think that motherfuckers are our car. That's how it breaks. The car brake, and then rolls off, lands on the ground in front of him, and then starts running around. And I do love that. He can turn faster than the car can. So that's And there were some walkers tied up, and they do manage to get foot loose, and Rick kills several of them, but one of them does come up right behind Daryl. And that moment where Jesus, like, he could easily have shot, Daryl. And I mean, he knows by now, okay, they are not going to actually, they're not receptive to his, But he says duck instead of shooting Daryl. And that was also, my God, I was sitting there thinking, listen, Jesus, I understand why you have disciples, but if you get Daryl bit for being an asshole, And the let's see. I guess that does bring us to the yeah, and then afterward there was like, "That's my gun, you asshole," and he just knocks him. Wow. And the yeah, some of the he gets hit on the head, and there's the fucking car. Oh my god, because the fucking what's it called again? Hand brake. What do y'all call it in English? I only know the word in Danish. But yeah, that thing is and yeah, gravity does its thing, and yeah, goes under the water down with you know there might just be maybe a iconic pop culture character hid some dead bodies down there as well. I think that's vague enough that it's not a spoiler for that particular story, but if you know, you know. And I think that does right, but yeah, the fact that they tied him up, and it's like, oh, you're just gonna leave him here, and he even gets a soda, he gets a pop, and those ropes are not that, the knots are not that tight. You'll be able to get out once we're far away, and I mean, he did get out. You're half right. It's a half truth, Rick, and who jumps on a fucking car roof when it's driving? Is this the fucking transporter in disguise? Jesus Christ. And yeah, the there's well, we'll leave him up against the tree, and then he does end up in the car, and the thing with like, well, I love that Rick keeps like purposefully, like, let's see, I guess it's because he's like it's the wheel on the steering wheel. He like jerks it a little so that Jesus like slumps over onto Daryl, and Daryl just gets increasingly annoyed by it. I'm sorry, that really made me laugh. And I think that, but yeah, so they're gonna have to, because he saved Daryl's life. And it's like, well, what's in it for him? I mean, clearly they're not willing to really listen to him. So yeah, yeah. And let's see, I think that, yeah, so that brings us nicely to, so yeah, Spencer, it's revealed the reason Spencer was out there with a shovel wasn't to dig a hole for a pole. It was because he knew Deanna was there, and he wanted to end her existence as a zombie and bury her. And I really love that we didn't see, like, we saw that, clearly Carl realized something about the walker and told Eden not to kill it. And yeah, she currently at least does not appreciate this, but yeah, it is true. Like, they really, it's right for Spencer to do this. And I really love that Michonne also realized, and then we have the Michonne confronts Carl, and let's see, the right, also appreciate the detail that, yeah, so Enid doesn't really spend time around others in Alexandria, but she also doesn't want to be with Carl out in the woods. And yeah, she is struggling a little bit. This isn't super healthy, and I know I'm one to talk. And the but yeah, Michonne talks to Carl, and that was also so sweet. He's teaching her the constellations. That's just, yeah. Which I suppose might be to the great consternation of flat earthers. Are they still around? I don't know. I'm just seeing a bunch of memes about like flat earthers are upset about Artemis 2? Is that the right? or do they call it Artemis Second? I've only seen it in writing. I mean, obviously, it is exciting. Science usually is when you really get into it. Anyway, I think that does bring us, but yeah, Michonne at first does not really, she's like, this was, yeah, she doesn't love that this was, yeah, but Carl explains it and says, it should be by someone who's family, someone who loved them. I would do it for you. And then they hug, and she's like, I would do it for you too. And it's just so sweet. And I really appreciate this way of, so there was some of this show where she was kind of the fun aunt. And now she's the serious aunt who's like, I think your mother should be telling you this, but she's not. So I have to. And just, yeah. I'm kind of, I'll be fascinated to find out, because I feel like there's some chance he's going to find out about Rick and Michonne and how he's going to feel about it, because on the one hand, I could imagine he would be receptive to it. Yeah, we'll see. And let's see, the thing about, they managed to get Jesus into the onto the bed, and they leave water and a note. And I mean, I guess we don't see them lock the door, so maybe he is not as much of a goddamn Houdini as, I mean, they said that, well, the knots are not that tight, but it's still pretty ridiculous. The kind of, yeah. I guess this is decent enough time to say I have heard of this character appearing in the comics, and the yeah. I don't know spoilers, don't worry, but I have heard that this is, like, sometimes he does pretty ridiculous shit. I know no details. I just heard that specific description, possibly even verbatim quote. Anyway, I guess that does pretty much, let's see. I feel like there's at least one more thing that I really want to make sure to say, but I'm trying to place it. But yeah, they're at the end. He's there. So, Rick, we should talk. Jesus fucking Christ. You see what you did, Rick? You see what happens when just like... But yeah, also the thing about, like, well, maybe we should let people in. You mean like him? Well, not like him. And yeah, the thing about, because yeah, like Rick, I think Rick started to ask him the questions, the 3 questions. And at first he says, he lies and says they don't have a camp. And I think I think that might just about... But that was also, it was very clever, he does, like, he bumps into them there at first, but it's like, I mean, yeah, I can kind of believe that he's just running from walkers and he didn't realize that there were people right there, but then at the same time, once you realize, it's in retrospect of like, oh, right, of course, because that's actually, it's kind of a classic, I would say the word is pickpocket move of bumping into someone and then, maybe apologizing or just being like, oh, I'm sorry, I really have to be on my way or something. And then they realize, too late, that something was taken. Now, I feel like, does that pretty much cover? Also, just the two, Michonne and Rick sitting there, and the thing about, like, well, there was toothpaste, but it's at the bottom of a lake now. You had a day. And so she gets mints instead, which yeah. And yeah, the first just the hand there, then they sort of hold hands, and then nonverbal but very clearly communicated consent, and they start. And it is also just, I mean, I'm sorry, but both of these characters really deserve to be happy. And they've had ups and downs, not like that. Get your mind out of the gutter. But it is, genuinely, like, there is a real friendship and level of trust there that just, like, I feel like these are 2 people who do not get into bed with just anyone. Like, they do have to feel that about the person. And I think that does pretty much cover the right, and as usual for the show, it is not like exploitative in the way it's just like it's a sex scene that communicates something similar to the Netflix Defenders verse. The yeah, I think I have made my point. So yeah, I really appreciate Spencer like becoming more mature and taking things more seriously. I mean, for a little while there, he was just stealing supplies and getting drunk and shit, and then he really came through for them in when Alexandria was being attacked by a lot of walkers, and yeah, I mean, Deanna would have wanted this, and she deserves it because she tried really hard, and she like largely succeeded to make sure that this was, she did what she could to make this a safe community. And I mean, Aaron wouldn't have found Rick and the survivors. They would not be at Alexandria if not for Deanna. So yeah. And as usual, she does a really solid job. Like, if this had been in the first episode I'd watched that Deanna appeared in, I would have assumed, oh, she just always plays a walker because she nails it. There's no, like, remnant of who she used to be. She's never approached Spencer that we've seen, at least, yeah. I know, too silly of a joke. She's never approached Spencer like that before. And I think that does pretty well cover. Let's see. So yeah, really looking forward to more. Should be not but few days before. God, I'm really fucking worried about Alexandria and the people within when Negan arrives. And yeah, I think that covers absolutely everything. Okay, so I'm just mentally, real quick, gonna fast forward through the episode. Right, it was also funny that, it was the usual. We found a guy. Oh, yeah, my day was about the same. You found a guy. No, it's kind of the opposite. But yeah, I also, I like that the walker that is right outside, it's like stuck on a rebar or something right outside the gates. It's there when they drive away in the morning, and it's there when they drive back, in the evening. I don't know, I kind of like that. And yeah, the I feel like if we could hear his inner monologue, though, that walker would be like, I'm sorry, did you forget? Okay, so you didn't get toothpaste, you didn't get pop. Did you forget everything that anyone requested? Ooh, is that a snack?